You've stood in front of a mirror before, tracing a new line with one finger, wondering when exactly it arrived. Most people respond the same way: a new serum, a stronger retinol, another promise in a jar. In Japan, though, the women who seem to age the slowest rarely credit a product at all. They credit rhythm's small, repeated choices in how they eat, move, and touch their own skin, practiced so quietly they barely register as effort. 6 of those habits explain most of the difference. None of them involve a single expensive bottle. Habit 1. Hara Hachi Bu, eating until 80% full A plate gets cleared completely out of habit more than hunger, second helpings arriving before the first ones have even settled. The stomach stretches, insulin spikes, and over years, that repeated spike steadily accelerates the very inflammation that ages skin from the inside out. In Okinawa, a region famous for its long-lived elders, there's a simple practice called Hara Hachi Bu, eating until you're roughly 80% full, then deliberately stopping, even with food still on the plate. Fullness gets treated as the finish line here, when the body actually signals enough a good while before stuffed arrives. The two moments just get confused for each other. Hara Hachi Bu isn't a diet, it's a pause inserted before the very last bite, giving the body a chance to catch up with itself. Put your fork down halfway through tonight's meal, and wait 2 full minutes before deciding whether you're actually still hungry. Eating this way calms inflammation from within. What touches the skin from the outside matters just as much. Habit 2. Uchimizu water as a ritual, not a chore. Splash of tap water gets rinsed over the face in under 10 seconds, most mornings, quick, functional, barely a beat in the rush toward the door. Nothing about it feels like care, because it isn't treated as any. In Japan, a related ritual called Uchimizu, traditionally the sprinkling of water to cool and settle a space before guests arrive, echoes into modern skincare as well, where washing is slowed down deliberately, water temperature considered carefully, never scalding, never ice cold, always lukewarm and unhurried. Exactly the moment that should be the calmest one of the day gets rushed here instead. Uchimizu isn't about elaborate steps. It's about treating even the simplest ritual as worth doing properly rather than doing quickly. Wash your face with lukewarm water only tomorrow morning and take 20 full seconds instead of 5. A slower ritual settles the skin gently. The next habit works from the inside instead. Habit 3. Kanpou skin-fed from the inside. A skincare shelf fills steadily: serum, essence, cream, each one promising a different fix, each one applied without much thought to what's actually happening underneath the surface. Japan's approach leans instead on Kanpou, a tradition of herbal wisdom passed down for centuries, where skin health starts with what enters the body, not just what sits on top of it: green tea for its antioxidants, seaweed for minerals, fermented foods like miso for gut health that shows up eventually in the complexion. Skin gets treated as separate from the rest of the body here, when really it's simply the most visible organ reporting on everything else going on beneath it. Kanpou isn't a shortcut. It's a reminder that a good complexion is quietly built from every meal, not just every cream. Add 1 small Kanpou-inspired habit today: a cup of green tea in place of your usual afternoon coffee. What you eat shows up eventually on your face. What touches your face directly still follows its own separate rules. Habit 4. Amai mono wo hikaru, respecting sugar's quiet cost dessert, arrives most evenings without much debate: a small reward for a long day, rarely questioned, rarely connected to anything beyond the moment itself. Sugar, though, binds steadily to collagen through a process called glycation, stiffening and yellowing it slowly over years, a process most people never learn to name. In Japan, portion awareness around sweets sometimes described as amai mono wo hikaeru. Restraint with sweet things treats dessert as a small, deliberate pleasure rather than a daily default, often a few bites of something delicate rather than a full portion of something heavy. Sugar gets treated as harmless here simply because its damage doesn't show up until years later. This isn't about eliminating sweetness entirely, it's about noticing how much of it has become automatic. If dessert appears tonight, take half the usual portion and actually taste it slowly instead of finishing it quickly. Less sugar protects collagen for years to come. Protecting the skin from something else entirely happens every single day. Rain or shine. Habit 5. Higasa bunka shade as a daily habit, not an emergency sunscreen, gets applied, if it gets applied at all, mostly on beach days or obviously sunny afternoons, an occasional precaution rather than a daily rule. Most sun damage, though, happens quietly, through car windows, through cloudy skies, through ordinary errands nobody thought to protect against. In Japan, sun avoidance is practiced almost year-round through higasa bunka parasol culture hats, umbrellas, and long sleeves treated as completely ordinary, not as vanity or excess, simply as daily habit regardless of season. Sun protection gets reserved for extremes here, when UV exposure accumulates steadily on completely unremarkable days too. Higasa bunka isn't fear of the sun. It's simple, consistent respect for what it does over time. Apply sunscreen every morning starting tomorrow as part of your routine, sunny or not, rain or shine. Consistent shade protects skin for decades. What happens each night while you sleep protects everything the day already did. Habit 6. Suimin wo taisetsu ni, treating sleep as sakure late, scroll through the phone stretches bedtime by another hour, then another, sleep treated as the most negotiable part of the day, the first thing sacrificed when time runs short. Skin repairs and regenerates most actively during deep sleep, and that repair window shortens every time bedtime slides later. In Japan, suimin wo taisetsu ni treasuring sleep treats rest not as laziness but as a genuine act of self-respect, worthy of protecting the same way a meeting or a deadline would be. Sleep gets treated as flexible here, when it's actually the one habit every other habit on this list quietly depends on. It's about simply giving sleep the priority it already deserves. Set a firm bedtime 30 minutes earlier than usual tonight, phone left outside the bedroom entirely. Sleep is where every other habit on this list actually takes hold. None of these 6 habits ask for an expensive routine or a dramatic overhaul overnight. They ask for something smaller and quietly harder, noticing where speed, sugar, and sacrificed sleep have crept into ordinary days, and choosing, gently, to slow each one down. Japan's quiet approach to aging well wasn't built from one dramatic secret. It was built from 6 small habits, repeated patiently until they stopped feeling like effort at all. Out of these 6, one probably felt a little too familiar. That's usually the exact one worth starting with tonight.